Hey everyone, this is PrinceWatercress, and welcome to a brand new Let's Play. This time around, it is Vanguard for the Atari 2600. This was originally in the arcades, and it was developed by Tosei, who has developed a lot of games, though you probably wouldn't even know which ones they worked on, because they rarely credit themselves or their staff members in their games. Although they have been... their names have been noted in some games, such as the legendary Starfy series, Game & Watch Gallery 4, and the game they made with Namco called Scarlet Nexus. While they've made a lot of console games, this was the only arcade game, save for the 1984 sequel, Vanguard 2, that they ever made. Interestingly enough, the game was ported to the Atari 2600 and 5200, and the 2600 version was programmed by Dave Payne. Anyway, if you couldn't already tell, just from looking at this really trippy scene going on around here, you're a ship, you fire in 4 directions, and obviously you need to shoot down all the ships without getting shot yourself as you go through this. It's basically a tunnel. I wanted to say like some sort of synonym for the word tunnel, but yeah, it's a tunnel. And as you go from one section to another, you'll see a map showing where you are. And as you go through the tunnel, things will change. You'll meet different enemies. You'll try to avoid being shot or being destroyed by said enemies. And you obviously want to make it to the Gond at the end of the tunnel. What is the Gond? Well, the Gond has been terrorizing nearby space colonies with his periodic raids of destruction, and the time has come to put an end to his reign of terror. The player has been selected to pilot an advanced fighter ship with high offensive capabilities and must enter the cave inside the asteroid where the Gond makes his home. Well, this is even more interesting. We're going inside an asteroid. Wonderful. And safely flies through every zone. The Mountain Zone, Rainbow Zone, Stick Zone, Stripe Zone, Bleak Zone, and the City of Mystery, aka the Last Zone, where the Gond is rumored to reside. The player must take the Gond out and succeed in the mission. If unsuccessful, the colonies will be doomed. And if you know what you're doing, and you'll definitely be able to get through this, hopefully with a lot of points. And I won't know the name of every enemy in this game, nor will I know the name of every zone right away, but I'll still try to explain this as best I can. As for the game select and difficulty switches, the game select just lets you switch between a 1-player mode and a 2-player mode, and the left and right difficulty switches just change how you fire. If both are at A or novice, you can just fire without having to hold the button, and you can hold the button to move without firing. Now, if you move without firing, you move twice as fast than if you are, which should be kept in mind. I'm going to keep that going on, and I'll explain the other ones in, I want to say, the next video. Like, I want to show off the gameplay as it is for this first video, but at the same time, I want to save what goes on with the other difficulty switch combinations for another video. So I'm just going to play this game as it is for this first video. So let's go ahead and reset. And we have 5 lives and a fuel counter down there at the bottom, which will constantly go down every so often. And there's an E right there. I managed to grab it. And while this music plays and the invincibility gauge goes down, you'll be able to run into anything without getting yourself destroyed, which is good. And I want to utilize these things whenever I can, because it'll make it a little easier to get through some of these areas. Especially this one, now that we no longer... Really? Now that we no longer have enemies stopping to move up and down in place. And thankfully, these things just move straight forward and just fire at you every so often. And now we're at our second zone. Now, these little ovals will keep coming at us. Really? And we want to do our best to not get hit by them. I want to be able to hit things from... I need to remember to hold the fire button down, first of all, because I'm losing like unnecessary lives and the unnecessary deaths, and it's becoming really frustrating. At least we're keeping our health high by, well, not exactly our health, but our fuel high by shooting all of these enemies, which is a good thing. And now we are in our third zone, where we have even more spaceships coming at us. And we want to make sure that we shoot them down. Hopefully, if I can get 10,000 points, I can get myself another ship. Though I don't know how long my luck will last. Thankfully, this is one of the earliest games to let you continue. Like, even beating out the A+ start code from Super Mario Brothers by a couple of years. Arcade game came out in 81, but this 2600 port came out in 82. So yeah, this predates being able to continue in Super Mario Brothers by like 3 years. Just about. Also, these things can shoot, by the way, now that these things have come back for the second part of all this. And enemies do show up in limited quantities after a time, and they eventually stop becoming a major annoyance. And I just got my 10,000 points, which means I have an extra life. Let's not waste it. And I apologize for my commentary being a little scattered. There we go. Had to stand in place there because I was afraid that I would crash into something. Now for this area. Hey. So obviously you wanted to shoot those things that are producing that barrier. Otherwise things will not go very well for you. Also, you want to avoid that block that's moving back and forth because it's indestructible and will hurt you too. Remember to hold the fire button so that way you can move faster when you need to. At least I'm remembering to do it here. Couldn't do it earlier. Me and my dumb brain. And we're at the end of this. So we got one more zone, and yeah, you guessed it, you're fighting ovals again. So you've probably noticed already that by tapping the joystick in the direction that you want to shoot, you'll shoot in that direction. Which is a good thing, because it makes it a little easier to get past all these oval-like enemies. And now we're going to face the Gond. Oh, wait, actually, no, we're not. We're going to face these things. Now, if you run into any of these things, you actually get points for it. You get a lot of points. But if you grab on the same single enemy one too many times, it does turn around and destroy you. It does make you pay for utilizing that trick one too many times. And now we have these little things that look like shovels or arrows or something raining down on us. And if you know what you're doing, you can shoot at a ton of them at once and get a load of points, which I really, really like. How do I have 33,000 points? And that was the Gond. The longer it takes for you to destroy the Gond, the more points you get. But, I wasn't exactly good at delaying the inevitable, so I got nothing, unfortunately. And here we are at the second loop of this game. How I am surviving this long, I have no clue. It would also help if this thing in the upper left got off the screen. Thank you. Ugh. Last life. I think you only get 1 life per credit. So we're on the second half of what is the first loop, so we can still continue. But once we destroy the Gond a second time, we can't continue anymore, which really stinks. But if you can get past this part of the game pretty early, hey, look at me, I'm going through walls, thank you, invincibility. Okay. Need to be careful. 41,890. That wasn't too bad. Let's try again. Huh. And I didn't grab the invincibility this time. Well, I suppose I'll go for one more. Now that I'm getting a little better at this. But yeah, you've seen the full first loop. And I'm guessing what I thought was the second half of the first loop was really the second loop. And in the second loop, you cannot continue. And I can't believe I got through the first loop without losing all my lives, so that was basically an inadvertent 1cc there. Good going me. I did not expect to do that because I had to continue a few times while practicing prior to making this video, and I did have to continue a few times. And I really wanted to show off the continues too, and it looks like I'm about to get it. Well, actually, you know what? Let me show it off right now. So here's what happens. It says continue down there at the bottom of the screen. The fuel gauge turns white, and if you press the fire button, you'll continue again. You have infinite continues on the first loop, and once you hit the second loop, I don't believe you can continue anymore. At least that's what the game pretty much said to me, that when I tried to continue with 40,000 points. So you're basically left to your own devices and to your own skill once you beat the Gond once. So there's that. And yeah, I might as well go ahead and get shot by something just to go back to the thing. Or I can just press the game select switch and then I can just go back to the demo from there. So yeah, the game select switch just toggles between 1-player mode and 2-player mode. That's it. You just have the 1-player mode and the 2-player alternating. This is quite a fun game, I have to admit. I mean, this wasn't the first shooter. You did have games like Scramble at the time, but this one is really interesting. leaves a mark on whoever plays it. I find it interesting that the ship is a triangle, but you also have like a horizontal and a vertical line going through it to represent the cannons, which is pretty neat. So there is that. There's all sorts of enemies. You have a really interesting control scheme that's easy to figure out, and once you have it figured out, easy to get working to your advantage, especially if you played the game smart. And there's plenty of things. Why was the ECAN doing that? That was weird. I've never seen the ECAN do that, but then again, I've never really looked at the attract mode all that much. You do have items that give you invincibility and let you go through walls, which was pretty cool. There's a trick of latching onto these enemies to get a bunch of points. Really, really interesting game. And as fun as it is, I'm not quite done with it yet, because I still want to show off what happens when you play around with the difficulty switches in this game. And I believe I'll do that in the next video, now that I have an idea of how to do stuff with this Let's Play. Join me next time where we play around with the difficulty switches, and I get to see if any of the other modes of firing are any more interesting than what the game plops you with at the beginning. Until then, this is PrinceWatercress. Take care, stay safe, and thanks for watching!